Hi everyone and welcome to another quick video on Fulgrim. This video is going to be about sub-assemblies and the construction and hints, tips, what I can give you to hopefully help you in your Fulgrim, because one thing I'm going to say straight out of the bat, this is the most challenging miniature in construction that I've probably ever done. As you know, he's a beast himself, he's so intricate and detailed, you have to be really careful with it. But hopefully from this you're going to be able to get some little hints and tips that are going to help you along the way. So first of all, as you can see here, we've got all these different parts. These are going to be the main sub-assemblies. There are some more which we'll get into in a little bit. Obviously I've kept the wings off for natural reasons. They're that big and I want to paint them separately. These will be pinned just so I can sort of do what I've done here and stick them into a base so that I'm not touching them, and then I'll remove them pins and glue it. I would have liked to have stuck these on and maybe use some green stuff, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do that at this present time. These two little like skirt tabard pieces, you want to keep them separate. It just enables you to get around the back of him and paint all his scales and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot. I will say straight off the bat, there is a ton of cleanup on this miniature to do, like in between swords and even in between like these little tassels and stuff. So yeah, so one tip I could give you is, once you've cleaned it up and done what you normally do with a Forge World resin, is put it to one side, have a day off from it, come back to it another night and look for some bits that you might have missed, because I guarantee you will have missed some. But yeah, so these are the wings. They are extremely, they're not like fragile or anything, they're not going to snap. Don't be like proper bend testing or trying to drive over them, because they will snap. But yeah, usually this is like the biggest part of the miniature. There weren't much stuff to do with these apart from the cleanup and just gluing on the little like spikes on the end. These are pretty self-explanatory. There's not much that you've got to do with these. But let's talk about this. This is like his, what I'm going to call his lower half and his base. One thing is going to be really hard to get inside. We're considering like doing sub-assemblies and stuff, but because I've got to use some green stuff, we're literally going to have to go in by hand and do some really careful airbrush work if I come to that. At the end of this video there will be an annotation on the parts that I have pinned, because there's sections like this that I have pinned. You don't, it's not necessary, but I've just done it as a like a precaution. The base itself, it is quite a straightforward miniature to glue together in a way. It's just a clean up and everything like that, making sure you've got everything. But the base, I just stuck some fancy bits on. I have used some green stuff just to like raise up areas, make them just a little bit bigger in areas so it's not flat. We've covered this with a mix of, you know, like sand itself, some rocks and stuff, just to make it all blend. It looks a bit crazy at the moment. Once that's base coated, it will all come together. There are quite a few some gaps that might require some filling. The main one being this section down here. And then obviously there's some at the back, but there will be an annotation at the end for all the parts that have green stuff. I still have got, which is why I said go back in a way, because you might miss some stuff, but there's a little bit just there on the tail that I want to put just a little bit of green stuff on. You'll probably get away with that, but I just want to make it look a little bit smoother. You'll notice a hole drilled in here in the top. This is obviously for later, which we can move on to the body. And obviously he's attached to this, and eventually I'll snip that down once I've done painting. This is just acted as like a little painting handle to paint it so I can do it different, and that'll pin into there as well. The wings, I think I will pin them as well. I'll just put like some small little holes inside there. Now sub-assemblies for this section, obviously I will, and I have kept the head separate. With the head, as I discussed in my previous video, I did decide to keep the crown off. It just got in the way, and when I test fitted it, it didn't really fit, and it was just going to be a pain. And for me, it just didn't. I'd prefer it without. One little thing, I'm not sure, you can probably see just there on the bottom of his chin. It's filled now, but it looks like he's got a little spot on the bottom of his chin. There was a hole in mine. I'm not sure if that was like an air bubble or what, but I had to fill that with green stuff and sand it down. And then for the gaps where the crown should have been, as you can tell on the head, I've done some small rolls of green stuff and just filled in that hair, just so it doesn't look like there's some strange gaps. But we will be painting that separate from the rest of the miniature. Other sub-assemblies is this little like wing that's coming off. You can probably see when it focuses. There's a bit of blue tack on there, and these two shoulder pads are just tacked on at the moment. The reason for that is so I can get underneath his arms and paint his shoulders. It's just going to make life a little bit easier for painting the details themselves on the shoulder pauldrons pads and the arms themselves. This is really fragile. If I could have kept this off and done it separate, I probably could have, but you know, I have got a bit of room to work with on there. And as you can tell, the arms, they've got a bit of gap filling. And that's pretty much it for like the green stuff and the filling. But yeah, guys, if I could give you one tip with Fulgrim, is to really take your time with that cleanup. Even like these sections, they had a lot of like flash and fill that you had to sort of keep off and keep separate. But yeah, wish me luck. The next video, one thing I'm going to do now, which is what I recommend doing when you've got something like this, is I always have a ton of ideas when it comes to painting this, and it's always good to jot them down, put them on a piece of paper, and do it along that way. So what I'm going to do now is work out how I want to paint this, get my notebook and write down like colours and stuff, what I'm going to do for the flesh and the ways and the steps that I'm going to do it, just to make life a whole lot easier. Because if I think, oh, I want to do base first and then come to this and think, oh, I've sprayed purple, or I've got purple onto it, but there's all different ways of working it out. So I'd highly recommend and advise doing that. Also, I did put a poll up for how should I paint this, like fully grimdark, half and half, and a lot of the biggest vote was fully grimdark. However, when I'm painting my miniatures, I always try and go for a story and a narrative, and sort of what's happening with this guy, what's his story, what's going on. And right now, because this is a Horus Heresy, he's only recently become a demon Primarch. So I'm going to do a bit of half and half. So he's not going to be fully grimdark, so I want him to be like still like in his beauty phase and beautiful. I'm not going to add like chips and rust and all that sort of stuff at this point. I'm going to do a little bit in between. So yeah, that's what I've decided on for that. And I do think that if they ever do a 40k version, that's probably where I'll go to town. Like he's been festering away, hiding in like the warp or whatever his story is, and that's took its toll over years, and he's sort of reclused him to himself. That's when I'm going to go full grimdark. It'd be ace if they sort of did it and like parts of his wings were rotting away and breaking up and stuff like that. But yeah, not for this one. So yeah, this is going to be available, the painting guide. I will probably put some bits on YouTube, but when the patron comes, this is going to be exclusively for my patron. However, there will be probably a small video going over some sections on the YouTube. So if you don't want to miss out on those, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, guys, thank you, and I'll catch you in my next video.